The Melanoma Foundation of New England is holding its 7th annual Your Skin is In, Tanning is Out pledge drive from January 6 to April 30. This program educates teens and young adults on the dangers of tanning and the direct link between tanning beds and melanoma, which is the deadliest form of skin cancer. Melanoma survivor and spokesperson for the Melanoma Foundation of New England is Meghan Rothschild, and she's celebrating 10 years of being cancer-free. How incredible.
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming on board and talking to us about this. Let's start though with, it's got to be very difficult to tell teens and young adults, stay away from the tanning beds.
Well, certainly. I mean, any teenager has that sense of invincibility, doesn't think anything bad is ever going to happen to them. And, you know, they can be a difficult audience to get a message through to. But I will say that having been sharing my personal story for the last 10 years, that really does connect with them. It really clicks with them, being able to kind of personalize the message and not just being a doctor who's up there spouting statistics.
Now we're going to get into your personal story because it's a very powerful and very effective story. Let's talk first about the pledge drive. What does it entail? What are you guys asking of teens and young adults?
Sure. So Your Skin is In asks teens and young adults to basically sign a pledge stating that they will not seek UV exposure in order to obtain a tan. We know that there is no such thing as a healthy tan, and unfortunately melanoma is just skyrocketing among that age group. So this pledge really aims at kids making a promise to themselves that they're going to be more skin safe and skin healthy and avoid the UV exposure that we know is so harmful.
But obviously you can't eliminate all sun exposure. I mean, vitamin D is very healthy for your body as well. So how do you find that balance?
Well, we like to say that 2 to 3 times a week, if you're out in the sun for about 5 to 10 minutes unprotected, that should be enough to stimulate vitamin D growth. But you have to weigh the pros and the cons just like you do with anything else. There's so many other alternatives to get vitamin D. You can take supplements if you talk to your doctor. You can eat fish. You can drink fortified milk. So it's really about kind of weighing the pros and cons. What we don't want to happen is for people to think, oh, I'm vitamin D deprived, I should go lay out in the sun for 4 hours unprotected in order to stimulate that growth, because the chance of cancer just doesn't outweigh the pro of getting the vitamin D at that point.
Do you ever deal with kids that, and especially females, girls, young girls, teen girls, that kind of have this perception that, you know, the stereotype where the tanning makes you look younger and prettier and skinnier, and they see it in actresses or models, and you kind of have to deal with that as well?
Well, absolutely, and the reality is that having a tan does make you look skinnier, and it does make you, for some reason, look like you've got a little bit of a glow and you look better in clothes. And so we talk a lot about that with the teens and young adults. You know, our primary message is that your skin is beautiful the way it is. It's the largest organ in your body. Don't take it for granted. However, we understand that that's a difficult message to communicate to teens, and so we do talk a lot about alternatives, how to apply makeup and use bronzer that complements your color, sunless tanners, spray tans. We give healthy alternatives because we understand that this message can be a lot for a teen to swallow.
Now, talking about your personal story, you've been a cancer survivor for 10 years now,
Yes.
but I mean, you're still very young. You were 20?
I was 20, yes, sophomore year.
Talk about it must have changed your life, especially being a 20-year-old.
Yeah, you know, that's another reason why I love this program and being involved in it, because I'm out there talking to kids who are in their sophomore year of college, which was when I was diagnosed. I was going to school at Roger Williams just like any other kid, enjoying life, and spotted a suspicious-looking lesion on my abdomen. Noticed it was itching, noticed it was really dark, and really had to push an urge to have my doctor allow me to get it removed. And 2 weeks after the initial surgery, just to have that small area taken off, it came back as a melanoma, which then led me to subsequent surgeries. I had to have lymph node extractions, I had to have drainage tubes. A lot of people think skin cancer is just, you know, get it cut off and move on, but the reality is melanoma can become deadly, and you have to take some steps to make sure it hasn't spread inside the body.
Talk about the struggle you went through from the time you were diagnosed to now. Yes, you're back on the mountaintop and you're fighting against, what the dangers can do to you. But there was that struggle in between of coming to grips with all this.
Well, absolutely. I mean, with any cancer diagnosis, you immediately go to a very dark place. And upon the initial diagnosis, the first question that anyone asks is, what could I have done to prevent this? In my case, I really had a lot of blame, self-blame and guilt, because I felt, and I know that a lot of my behavior choices, starting just at the young age of 17 when I started this tanning habit, had led to a cancer diagnosis. And so you really, facing your mortality is a very scary experience, not only for you, but for your family. My parents were a mess. My sisters were worried about me. So, I spent about 1.5 years in a really dark place, just blaming myself and worried and a lot of self-pity. But I realize now it happened for a reason, and you have to turn a negative into a positive, because otherwise it'll consume you. So it's become more a part of who I am, and it's a mission that will be a lifelong mission for me.
What enabled you the most to be able to reach that place where you were able to turn a negative into a positive? And
I think it came down to sharing my story. The first time I publicly shared my story, I was working as a freelance writer while in school to help build my resume for a newspaper magazine in Newport, Rhode Island. And they found out I had melanoma, and they urged me to do a first-person story. And so I wrote this, kind of first-person recount of my experience. I posed on the cover, exposing my scars, this awful purple, big C-shaped scar on my stomach, just let it all out there. And what happened next was just an influx of emails and people contacting me saying, "You've saved my daughter's life," or "I shared your story with my sister and she's not tanning." And that reinforcement and that reassurance that people were very appreciative of what I had done, it just set me on a course where I said, I've got to share my story more so more people don't experience what I went through.
And has that kind of been the experience the years that you've been with the Melanoma Foundation?
Absolutely. People are appreciative. I have, aside from making a few teens pass out, which I've done because my story can be really horrific, the general feedback that I get is, I'm going to start protecting my skin. I'm going to be safe. And so that's, even if you just have one teen in the audience who changes their behavior because of you, it's worth it to me.
All right, great. Your skin is in, tanning is out. Thank you so much, Meghan.
Thank you.